This is Modern Persian Food,
a culinary podcast for today's food enthusiast.
We talk about classic Persian flavors,
modern recipes,
and embracing culture and identity through food.
I'm Bita.
And I'm also Bita.
Welcome to our show.
Salam, salam. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Modern Persian Food Podcast. It's our 2025 Norooz Persian New Year episode. We are Bita and Bita, and we're going to chat today about some of the pillars of Norooz, including what it is, how to prepare and get your home and kitchen ready for it with Khooneh Takoni, and of course, what to eat. Nowruz is the biggest Persian holiday and occurs at the moment of the vernal spring equinox, which this year on the West Coast is Thursday, March 20th at 2:01 a.m. in the morning. So gather around your hafseen, or if you want to celebrate a little earlier that week or a little bit later over the weekend, we encourage you to celebrate. And we're going to chat about how to get ready for that.
Indeed. I'm also Bita. Hi, friends. Hi, Bita number one.
Hi.
After listening to this episode, you're going to have the tools to not only spring clean your home and your environment, the kitchen, the pantry, the freezer, and the spice rack, but you'll also have the tools to cleanse your mind and your soul to be fresh for the new season and for the new year. Grab your sponges, grab your mops. Let's get scrubbing. The new year's about renewal of all sorts, fresh starts, and hope for a bright future. If you're joining us for the first time today, thank you. What we know about you is that you want to connect. You want to connect with the Persian culture, with the rich flavors, and to be a part of this community. So we're so glad you're here. And it's really why we've been doing this for so long. It's about you and the connections that we make. And if you can think of someone else that would enjoy this episode, please forward it along.
Yeah. So if you're new to the podcast, we're going to share a little bit about what Nowruz is in here in just a second. If you're a seasoned listener, you know that we have loads of content about Nowruz, about Persian food, but about Nowruz specifically, because there's so many different parts to it. The preamble of getting ready for Nowruz, how you set everything up, the sofre hafseen, the foods that you eat, how to celebrate elements like Charshanbe Suri and Size Bedar, and of course, our special guests like Naz Devarian and Fariba Nafisi from Zozo Baking. We've had some special guests over the years as well.
That's right. It's just amazing to think about that this is our 7th podcast episode covering Nowruz. It is the biggest special day in our culture, the biggest holiday. It's non-secular. It's the most prevalent and important time. So it makes sense that we've really gone in deep. But one thing we've never actually broken down is the spring cleaning aspect. So it just makes perfect sense, right? After the rains and the buds and the flowers are blooming, it's a perfect time to kind of freshen up and start anew.
So that's definitely leads us to one of the first pillars of Nowruz, which is getting ready. So we call that Khooneh Takoni. What it really means is cleaning up, cleaning out, creating movement in your space, and then really getting ready so that you can start the new year fresh and clean. Another element of getting ready is a celebration, which we call Charshanbe Suri, which is a fire jumping ceremony. And you make little like fires or bonfires or little clusters of candles that you jump over. And it really is talking about health and cleansing your body and getting ready to be healthy this year and getting rid of any ailments or sicknesses. Another part of getting ready is setting up your sofre hafseen. And as mentioned, we've talked about all of the details that go on to it. But what it is a place setting anchored by a large mirror and the fragrant hyacinth plant with the beautiful buds and bright colors and 7 different elements representing health, prosperity, beauty, growth, renewal, among other things. So once you have your hafseen all set up, you go to the second pillar of Nowruz, which is bringing in the new year. You gather with your loved ones. You eat foods like sabzi polo mahi, which is a beautiful herbed rice with fresh fish, and ashirishte, which is a ton of herb and noodle bean soup that I always love making. And you gather around the hafsin wearing your new clothes, and you bring in the new year. And you do that, and the elders typically will give AD or gifts of money or other gifts to the younger generations that come and spend time with them. After that, you spend time visiting, you do Dido Bazid, you go and see other members of your community and pay your respects of giving the new year, and you round out the whole season by the third pillar of connecting with nature. So Sizabidar, you go outside, you picnic, spend time outside and in nature and in the fresh air. And that kind of covers the little season of Nowruz and what to expect and how to celebrate.
Yeah, thank you for doing that kind of complete overview. So now we're going to really dig deep and dive into one of the preambles, which is spring cleaning. So cleaning might not be the most glamorous of topics, but we just love how it crosses over to Western cultural norms of spring cleaning, getting your spaces ready for the new year. If you're on this hemisphere, we're probably getting ready for weather being warmer, longer days, maybe dusting off those cushions and the patio furniture. If you have a family and children, maybe you're going through their clothes and checking to see that everything fits, cleaning out the toy box, maybe taking the pool cover off, taking the sprinklers out, however it might look for you. We hope our tips will inspire you to refresh and to renew.
Yeah, so Khooneh Takoni, it literally translates to shaking of the house. So it may be like back to the traditions of that the people would take their big Persian rugs out and shake them out and clean them up and wash them and get rid of all the dust and things that settle onto it. So maybe it's derived from that. Or tekon also means movement, so that it could be maybe that it's like creating movement and space in your home to declutter and organize and clean up so that you can start fresh. I know that definitely on my list of things that I need to get done before New Year's is my bookshelves. We have a bunch of books that need to be sorted through and thinned out a little bit, and some of the books that my kids have outgrown to donate those along. So that's one area I want to do. Closets are a really good place to start, in your drawers. If you are like many people, you have kind of like a junk drawer or a junk basket that just things accumulate. So this is a great time to kind of knock those things out and clean up.
Totally. I have this cupboard. It's not an official pantry closet, but it's kind of like a long, skinny cupboard that I use as a pantry type of a storage in my kitchen here in Southern California. And it's just kind of turned into a catch-all. Mm-hmm. It has random things in there. I mean, I think there's stamps and markers, but then there's like mugs that somebody gave me and mason jars. And then I have my tea in there. And so It's filled up really quickly. And I definitely want to organize that. And then I also have a closet that's a linen closet that has also sort of turned into an everything closet. And so I think that happens, right, with closets, because it's like out of sight, out of mind. But let's put it back in your mind and let's get organized, because ultimately, especially when we're talking about the kitchen, it's going to make cooking beautiful foods that much more enjoyable and that much easier.
Yeah, I personally love to start when I'm going to cook something or I'm going to be creating something in the kitchen. I love to start out in a clean space. So this definitely sets yourself up to embrace those cooking projects, maybe in the new Persian New Year, or try a new recipe. You'll have the tools that you need and the space to do it. So what else in the kitchen? What else? So we mentioned closets and kind of like the catch-all spaces. What else are you going to be organizing this year?
It's a great time to go through your spices. I think that for some of us, we set up our kitchens, we get all the spices we think we need, and then we just kind of forget about them. Well, spices do have an expiration date. It's not like they're necessarily going to make you sick, but they do lose their potency. And so you will want to check the expiration on those. I'm definitely guilty of getting the really large containers of certain spices that take longer to go through. And then all of a sudden I realize that, that's been in my cupboard for maybe like a few years. It might be time to swap that out. So I think spices as well as things that are in your pantry that are food related, kind of dry items. You want to check your flour, I don't know, pancake mix, whatever you keep in there. And definitely go ahead and check the expiration on those and make sure they're fresh.
Yeah. And also you can kind of set it up in a way where it'll be more conducive. Like if you have a bunch of smaller containers, you can get like a basket and kind of organize a little bit and to make sure that you know what you have in your pantry so that you can use it and, enjoy it. Another area that I always like to clean out as well is the freezer too. That's an area where I'll sometimes stash some things that I haven't eaten or saving it for another day. And it's nice to kind of go through and make sure that things don't, sit in there too long and that we can, again, enjoy some of the foods that we have.
Good point. I mean, ideally, you've put a date on there, but many times we don't. And so then you're going to have to just judge it by how much frost it might have on it or freezer burn. I have a client in my wellness practice who's doing a full rehaul, and it's just so timely. She wants to be able to batch cook, meal plan, and be able to be organized. She works full time, so she really has to maximize her space and her time. And one of the things she's doing is she wants to swap out all of her plastic storage containers to the glass ones. Well, that's a process in itself. So she's going to take before and after pictures for me. So
oh, I love it. Yeah, absolutely. And the storage of those storage containers takes up a lot of space too. I know that when I've upgraded my Tupperwares to more glass ones, it does take up a lot of room. I had to make room on the shelves to be able to accommodate kind of the bigger things, so they don't really stack as easily as the thin plastic ones, but much better for us to use the glass instead of the plastic.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's harder to store. And you know what? It can be overwhelming. One of the things I definitely coach and help with is just to take a small step. Do 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. You don't have to do it all in one day. And before you know it, just start with one space at a time and take it 5 or 10 minutes at a time. And before you know it, you'll have that entire section cleaned out and ready to go.
Yeah, that's a great point. It doesn't have to be this overwhelming, like huge spring cleaning, but it is nice to kind of chip away at it when you have time to really organize and be thoughtful about it.
Yeah. Another thing is that traditionally this time of year, Nowruz, is also a time to mend ways with your friends and family members that there potentially has been some kind of strife or, unease with. It's a time to sort of start afresh and cleanse your mind. And so I love that. I think that it's also, isn't it the year of the snake in the Chinese New Year?
Yep, it is. In the Lunar New Year.
In the Chinese New Year. And so I'm not a specialist, but what I understand about the year of the snake is it can also be a year of change and transition. I know it is for our family. We have a daughter that's graduating from college, but, cleaning out, starting anew, positive change. These are all wonderful themes in our culture that we can bring into our everyday lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Health. We start off before the new year with the fire jumping ceremony to kind of embrace good health and get rid of sickness. And the whole Norooz season is all about freshness and renewal and rebirth. So it is really a special time to reflect and see maybe what changes you want to make in the year and really embrace all of that.
Totally. And the color of Nowruz, a lot of the foods have greenness, the freshness of the spring. So we have the wheatgrass or sprouts that are part of the soufre that we grow as part of our preamble. And we have the green in the herb rice. We have the greenery outside. I'm looking outside my window right now, and there's kind of these rolling hills outside my window that are starting to get the little blossoms. It's so exciting after all of the rain that we had. So the color green just is naturally soothing, fresh color representing growth. And I just love that.
Yeah, definitely the color of Norooz. How we think about red as the color of Yalda, green, a bright emerald green as the color of Norooz.
And one more food is the kuku sabzi.
Oh, yes, of course. Kuku sabzi, the herb frittata, which is one of my favorites.
Loaded with herbs. It is green. I mean, it is like it's a green little herb pancake, if you will.
Yeah, like souffle type of thing with a bunch of eggs in it. And I love adding spinach and fresh herbs in there chopped up. And I cook it on a pan on the stovetop, although we've talked about different little muffin tin versions, great little appetizers. A little kuku made in a little muffin tin, maybe put a little bit of a walnut or some zitish dried barberries on top of it or in it. And it's a fun way to have that as something to eat on Norooz or in the season of it.
Yeah, and then abundant fresh herbs. We have an herb platter, typically present on the table as an appetizer or a side dish, and that's called sabzi khordan.
Yeah, definitely. You know, the fresh elements are a big part of Persian cuisine. It balances out some of the rich dishes. The herbs on the sabzi khordan platter or in a salad are always really nice ways to bring freshness to a meal as well.
Absolutely.
Well, everybody, we hope that you've enjoyed this episode and learned a little bit more about Norooz and have inspired to tackle your spring cleaning. If you found this episode helpful, please go ahead and forward it to one of your friends or someone who could use a little encouragement to get their spring cleaning on. Also, if you like what you hear, definitely subscribe and feel free to leave a review so that others can have your perspective as well.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Noruzutun piruz, har rozutun Norooz. And that translates to have a prosperous Norooz, and hopefully every day is like Norooz for you. Thank you, Bita June. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye. You've been listening to the Modern Persian Food Podcast with Bita and Bita. Thanks for spending time with us. If you've enjoyed what you heard today, consider telling a friend or giving us a good rating. You can subscribe to our show for free on your favorite podcasting app or find us online at modernpersianfood.com or on Instagram for the recipes and information we talked about today. We'd love to hear your thoughts and see you next time.